YOLO, infidels, that's right. We're back. The Conspiracy Horsemen Ride Again, 4 deep. Not in the Jeep, but we're riding horseback along the plains, looking, scouting for the one elusive one out there. That's right, because this week's episode has been requested many times, and we're on the hunt for the big man himself, Sasquatch. Bigfoot, the Yeti. No, this isn't WCW, but we're going to take one down, infidels. And today on HAMIN'S Hardcore Happy Hour, we're out getting squatchy. YOLO, infidels. Ha 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 ha. Oh! Yes, that's right. My Yeti yell is strong. Hey guys, glad to be back here this week, and I'm super pumped because we got all 4 of the brothers on here. HackerHamin, Big Sal, Big Stevie Cool, and the Greek God Papadon himself, and we're just going to have a little fun. We've been kind of going a little bit heavy, and, I think we're all still reeling even 2 weeks later from the Giants episode. We were all on together, and last week we talked about the fake moon landing, so if you haven't checked those out, please do. Getting good numbers on that, so we appreciate it. But let's go around the horn and say what's up. Greek God Papadon, set it off, man.
What's up, everybody? I've been hunting Sasquatch all week, and I haven't found anything. Go figure.
Big Stevie Cool, take it home.
You know, we do a pre-show thing that probably should be a Patreon premium show because all that happened in the previous 14 to 17 minutes was this is what wrestlers do when you're legitimately injured and concussed, or things happen where, like, if I literally fell off a building and hit a car, CZW style. These 3 guys would make fun of me for it for about 15 minutes, and I would be laughing right along with them. And that is the sick, twisted world of professional wrestling. Have I described it correctly?
Absolutely, no mercy on your best, bro, man.
I feel like I wrestled a gang. What's a group of Bigfoot called? Not Big Feet. I mean, I feel like they all just like spin kick me and power bomb me. Like
I would just call them the Click, man. I think if it's Sasquatch, you're the Click of Bigfoot.
No, they destroy you backstage, not out in the ring.
Yeah, well, no one really sees it, and it's hard to catch on camera that way. But I want to take it back to our own Bigfoot himself, Big Sal. I think he's got the size 20 double, triple wide shoe here. And I know when we were down in Ohio Valley Wrestling, we saw a couple big feet that would come to the show almost every week. I think the one that we called Peter Griffin there was in love with Twinkle Toes. I'm pretty sure she had Sasquatch.
I still to this day ask him how she's doing. I think he still corresponds with her.
Oh yeah, man. I'm sure she's at a Golden Corral somewhere, stalking, elusive. But yeah, glad to have you back, Sal, and all the guys, man. But before we get into the fun of Sasquatch, or the myth or the mystery of Sam Squanch, is it's been a little crazy day. It's 14th of June, I think I got that right, 2017, and this morning there was another crazy shooting, and we've had plenty of what some might consider semi-false flag attacks, Islamic attacks, whichever way you want to paint it in Europe lately. And people are just, it's the chickens are going to come home to roost here with some fundamentalist group. And then this morning, we had, not just, how do I say, your normal run-of-the-mill shooting that we're almost accustomed to at this point, but at congressional baseball game practice, which is a weird thing to me, at 8:30 in the morning at the professional MLB.
Don't these people have jobs?
Yeah. But how do you even coordinate that? Like getting congressmen to get up to go play baseball at 8:30 in the morning? That sounds impossible to me. But the fella from Illinois showed up at the Washington Senators baseball field and with a semi-automatic rifle, and pretty much opened up on the Republicans who were on the field, and shot Majority Whip Scalise in the hip, took down 2 armed guards and I think a couple staffers as well before he went down in a blaze of glory of his own making in his own mind. Very strange, man, in my opinion, just how this could even go down. Like, how are you even getting into a giant arena of this size when even going to a regular baseball game, it's TSA level security. And now we've got a lot of the heavy hitters from Congress there, and this dude can just walk in with a with an armor light, whatever. I don't know if he had an AR-15 or whatever comes out, and just start ripping rounds. But I guess there was 50 to 100 rounds fired. Thankfully, no one was killed except for the shooter himself, as returned fire with pistols on him. So interesting.
Isn't that convenient that he dead man tell no tales?
Yeah, it's real convenient, right? Just a quick background from what I saw. He's definitely got a political agenda, but not really for the NRA side. He was shooting at GOP, but there's Bernie Sanders plastered on his Facebook.
He was a volunteer for Bernie.
Yep. And he wanted Rachel Maddow as president. But the big thing that was strange to me is within 35 minutes after the shooting, boom, up goes all the blog posts, and somebody had that he was adamant about more taxation for people in higher tax brackets, really pushing socialism for the bottom end and anybody making over $10 million. If there's 6 tax brackets, he wanted it up to 60. And they had all these letters of the editors ready to roll, headlined out. It just seemed really clean to me. And when I see that in a certain amount of time, that feels like an agenda push that was ready to go.
Wouldn't be the first time something like that happened. So
yeah,
your suspicion is, it's valid. It could very well be.
The pieces feel like they're in place already as far as that goes. This guy was a home inspector as well, and I guess he lost his job or his license didn't get renewed in November, so he's just been kind of going politics crazy, and who knows what really set him off to do this or what.
I heard he just also got his real estate license in Smyrna, Georgia.
That'll do it. That'll drive anybody crazy, from what I hear. A friend of mine told me that. Hey,
I heard it. Yeah.
The segue. Switch the subject. Tells that. Actually, I don't think it's switching the subject. I think stuff like this is obviously we look at it from also a distraction point of view. They distract you from something else, and there seems to be a series of things with the hearings, with Comey's testimony, Jeff Sessions' testimony, all this other stuff. And in the meantime, the Dodd-Frank Act, which was basically protections put in place after the 2008 financial collapse, the banks, all that stuff, that's repealed right now. They voted to repeal it, which means that the banks have more freedom to do kind of what led them up to 2008 before. So an incredibly polarizing thing to do. So, but nobody's talking about it because all this stuff is going on. Do you think these kind of line up in some way?
Yeah, I'd say that's there as well. And I even saw, his name escapes me. He's the little dude from CNN with glasses. You just want to punch him in the face. No, he's the young version. He trashed Breitbart on Carlos Danger before that, came down like 2 years before that, and then now has to eat shit on it. But he said the same thing of, they repealed Dodd-Frank in the middle of the night, and all this is going down. And I'm thinking to myself, kind of like how Obama put through NDAA 10 days after he said he never would do it, and he did it on New Year's Eve. But they don't wear that hat, do they? They just fucking put what they want out there to shake down one side and make them just as crazy when this dude's been proven wrong time and time again. That's going to drive me nuts.
Well, they're all on the same side. Nobody's on opposite sides of that.
It's all a work.
There it is. And the other part of the shooter stuff that we were kind of talking about in the pre-show where we were slamming on Stevie that you guys missed was the fact that, the first thing that comes out is this guy a part of the Tea Party and a libertarian, like just want to paint him in that Alex Jones light so the Twitterverse can run with it. But it comes out he's the exact opposite. He's the pussy hat wearing anti-gun side, right? And that want to ban. So really, the Dems got to eat a lot of shit on this one, as far as if he's a poster boy for most of their stuff. Yet he shows up to do an AR-15 or whatever type of gun it was, long rifle, semi-auto.
According to all the other reports, the cops have been called on him before, during the election for shots fired at his house.
Really?
So, yeah. So they had reports on this guy, and whatever, he's licensed and he's able to have all his guns as he wants. But yeah,
it just seems like if you're the Mad Cow supporter, you'd be on the other side of that, ready to give them up and hold hands with everybody of every creed, class, and what have you. And he went right for me. I was said that he asked who's on the field, Republicans or Democrats, which is weird to me as well, because it seems like if you were a hardcore into politics and you're donating your time, and it seemed like he'd have a target list as far as that goes. But here he is, just showing up, not really knowing, and just ready to open fire. And how the hell is he getting by security? If I know the majority whip would have extra security just based on his position, and I heard that it took a while for DC Metro to get there, and that there were only 2 armed guards at this thing. If you've got X amount of Congress people there ready to play ball, especially in the time of craziness in this country, it seems like there'd be a lot more heavy security there. And because that was lax, that's kind of another check mark on the conspiracy list as far as I'm concerned.
And the fact that, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say maybe NORAD was running the drill when it happened.
Well, they were. They just ran one in Providence, Rhode Island, and scared the shit out of a bunch of people. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, geez. I was talking about the unofficial stand down or something. I don't know.
Well,
go ahead, Sal.
No, I was just gonna say, here this guy had his semi-auto weapon, and the 2 guys with the pistols took him out.
Yeah.
And he literally, and I'm glad, but he killed no one. He had 0 fatalities. You know what I mean? Like,
he's been shooting in the backyard since November. He sucks, right?
Right. He's the shits, because seriously, they're all out in the open.
They're literally fish in a barrel. You're not going to run up and out of the arena.
The one guy was out in right field, like, and I'm sorry, how fast can these congressmen be?
Yeah, take me out at the ball game.
Let me ask you this: this game that they were playing, is it an annual event? Because it's the first time I've ever heard. No, but it's the first time.
I think it's for a big charity thing that was going on.
It's like cops versus firemen, right?
That's gotcha. Because I never heard of a Republican versus Democrat baseball game ever.
I'd like to see that boxing match or UFC card. That'd be solid. But I think, it was for that. But Sal also brought up something earlier. He said there was a higher up from Tyson's Chick in there that was on the team.
They mentioned that on the news. Like, it just sounded so weird. They mentioned all these political types, and then they're like, and a representative from Tyson. I'm like, why?
So to me, that's kind of weird, because in the early days of what Trump did, which I was pumped about, because I think lobbyists are what really ruined this country in the last 20 years of making it a corporatocracy. Trump said they can't be anywhere in D.C. And I love it because they had to be standing behind him and like clapping when he was doing all the signings, that we've seen all those video clips. But like, he's literally taking their jobs from them while they're clapping behind them. So I think things like this, these charity events, are nothing more than a way for them to, off the books, meet with each other to get some other bullshit done, and go forward with whatever their agenda is, instead of being able to donate to super PACs and get their balls busted for it. So now some charity will make some money off it, but their deals for the big chicken lobby will go through.
Like I was saying, I would love to see a list of exactly who was at this practice, and then start tracing the lines, man. Start doing the red line wall, because
he should have had that on his wall beforehand. He was acting like he didn't know it was there.
He didn't. He was. Yeah.
You think he came in like a classic baseball nerd with his own scorebook and stuff? Like he was ready to see, like
he was going to start keeping stats.
Yeah, he's keeping stats on people. Yeah,
for fantasy league.
Stevie, follow my finger, man. How are you doing?
I'm here. I'm just trying to get little jabs. I was going to say who's worse. I was going to say who's a worse shot, him or Oswald. See, I'm with it. I got it still. Someone.
You got no right to censor here.
Yeah, man. I don't look like that dead JFK picture I keep sending to you guys as a meme.
I like that one though. That one pops the shit out of him.
The people don't even realize that's like when Papadon makes a joke or somebody says something and it's just like, oh, I just take a picture of the JFK in the coffin.
Did you? I popped earlier. I'll send
Wait a minute. Why does it have to be when Papadon makes a joke?
You know why?
It's just so rare that you do.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry.
Comedy.
I was so accommodating to him in my locker room, and he just bites the hand that feeds him.
Yeah.
Greeks invented locker rooms.
They
Oh,
did.
yes, we did.
That one they did, I'm sure. That one in that building.
I was gonna say, did you see the Roseanne picture I sent through of her doing the HackerHamin one-arm salute? I was like, why the fuck is this on Drudge Report? Did anybody else more steal my shit? Like, what is going on? Jinder Mahal, have at it, brother. But, you know, when it comes to shooting, one thing we're good at is shooting on everybody in the industry and ourselves. And, you know, we'll say it like it is. And we're going to cross over now to Bigfoot. And one thing that kind of gets me hot is no one's brought one of these big bastards down. And there's plenty of guys who are out in the woods hunting boars or hunting deer. And you got a 30-06, you got a 270 Winchester or whatever. And that's a fairly powerful rifle. I understand you might be scared, but don't you want to be a multimillionaire and have the first body of a Sasquatch? I know I would. So as an avid hunter, I'm out there a lot. I don't know if you guys are, being city boys, if you're used to being in the woods at all, or what Stevie is out of Philly. But for an upstate New York guy like me, I've been in it deep, and I got some stuff to share. So we'll just go around and talk about real quick what our impressions of Sasquatch is and why we enjoy it. So Stevie, why don't you set us off, man?
Well, you sure? I don't know if my mind and my brain can take it. It's been so rad. I'm just kidding. With me, it's always been interesting, and I've referenced the In Search Of TV show with Leonard Nimoy from years and years back, because it used to freak me out and scare me. And the Bigfoot was one of the highest rated episodes back then, and that was always one of the things, especially being from Philadelphia. For people that don't know about that area, in New Jersey, there's always the legend of the Jersey Devil and the Pine Barrens of Jersey. So to talk about these creatures, that it's a big urban legend in that area, in the tri-state area, about the Jersey Devil. And then Bigfoot is obviously a lateral move from there. So we would go to the Poconos and go to places like that, and I'd always be scared about Bigfoot, because isn't that where Bigfoot goes, in the woods? I didn't know about the Pacific Northwest or any of that stuff, or whether they're supposed to actually be. But since as a child, that was probably my first, I would say before 9/11, that was the big conspiracy theory for me growing up, was Bigfoot and what was Bigfoot. And I'm looking at 11 crazy Bigfoot conspiracy theories from Mental Floss. Some of these I didn't even, I mean, they're so far out from what I just thought it was the missing link when I grew up in evolution. But
right,
that's only 1 out of 11. You can imagine some of these, and that's where I'm at. It's kind of a guilty pleasure to kind of think about, but it's really actually, if you guys agree or not, it's kind of tame in comparison with what we know now. Like, oh, it's a Bigfoot. Okay, cool. Like, it would be so mind-blowing back about 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, it's another version of a mammal. Big deal.
Yeah. Go ahead, Pop. Take it.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to believe, to be honest with you. Yeah, we did invent big feet. There you go.
Oh, God.
No, in all actuality, you're a little kid, you hear about Bigfoot, you're left in awe. You don't know what to believe. You see the film, you see the so-called people that say they ran into Bigfoot or whatever the case may be. They all have some similar stories. But, I don't know. I mean, there's proof that there could be one. There's proof that there isn't one. It's stuff that's debunked, and then the stuff that's been debunked has been debunked by a third source. So who knows if it's real? Who knows if it's not? I personally don't even know, because I think it's pretty hard that all these years after the fact that they stated there was a Bigfoot, we still haven't caught one. And if we have caught one, why would the government hide it? The government doesn't lie to us. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think
right.
we can even tie that back into the Giants episode a little bit, of where they said the Smithsonian was changed because of how they wanted Darwinism, right? And it seems like if they were kayfabe and Giants, they would probably want to keep this off the radar a bit too. Gigantopithecus, I think is that the name, right, that they use for giant ape.
It's blocky.
But wouldn't you think that they can spin that and saying that we did come from apes, because there's the missing link who's a big hairy ape himself?
Well, I think that they don't want it to exist at the same time. They don't want a super intelligent creature that can communicate and has a family structure, and possibly be able to communicate and say, okay, here is this, or is it really tied in to the Giants in some degree?
I was going to ask you that. Do you think that they're the same lineage or the same type of animal?
if we're talking giants and we're talking Bigfoot, 8 to 10 footers, man, doesn't it seem like there might be some crossover? If we're talking about the Nephilim coming down and raping women, would they have not raped some gorillas along the way, possibly?
Dude, I'm telling you, the Bigfoot is like the midget on the show compared to what we heard from Tim.
Right. So in the crackdown, but I know you were pumped about this Big Sal, so why don't you lay it down on us, man? What are your thoughts on Bigfoot?
Well, actually, it's funny because Papadon, living in the same neighborhood, the Rosedale Library. That was the first place I read about Bigfoot, and then In Search Of, to watch that, and it's TV. So when you're a kid, that's the law. That's real. Everything they show you on TV is real. Otherwise, they can't put it on TV. Especially a documentary show with Spock as the host. He's not going to lie. And so, yeah, that's how that started. And then every time we're out in the woods, and we'd go to a summer camp. My dad was an electrician. So we'd all the local 3 guys, they'd send their kids out to the summer camp. And we were out in the woods up in, was it Northampton? East Hampton. They had like this big resort and they would put us in the woods. And Bigfoot every summer for like 7 summers, we knew Bigfoot was there, and we would all crap ourselves. And we were all petrified of Bigfoot, and every noise was Bigfoot, every shadow was Bigfoot, and every scream, yell, howl, Bigfoot. So growing up, doing research, learning all these other things, and now getting into conspiracy theories and cryptids and all that other sort of thing, you take it with a grain of salt and you're like, maybe, maybe not. And it's one of those things. I know grizzly bears exist. In the United States, there's like, 2,000 grizzly bears left. I've never seen one. I know they exist, though. That sort of thing. So I'm sure there's less Bigfoot than there are grizzly bears. So
I think there's plenty more than 2,000, but I see what you're saying on that. And, I've been up close and personal with bears and seen them, 5, 6 feet away.
Yeah, I've been face to face with black bears and brown bears, and but I've never seen a grizzly bear. You know what I mean? So,
did you put the bear over in the ring or no?
I did at one point. So, and just so everybody is aware, in case you ever have to do this, when they say that their claws and their teeth are filed, that's a lie. That is a straight lie, and it still hurts. It still hurts regardless.
I was gonna say, if I ever run into a bear, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I'm cool. Their nails are filed." Like, oh,
yeah.
Geez, I'm wrong.
Yeah,
there's not gonna be an opportunity to even have half a thought besides just 180. That's about it.
No,
how fast can they go? Can they catch you?
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
32 miles an hour they can run flat out.
I actually
they probably can't catch you.
Yeah, you're quick.
I heard a funny story. It was actually a wrestling story, and it involved Piper. Now, I don't know if Piper did the rib or the one he got the rib played on him, but it involved wrestling a bear. And the story was that the wrestler was going out to the ring, and someone came up behind him and said, "Hey, man, have a good match," and slapped him on the behind, and had honey all on his hand. So when he hit him, it went on his trunks. Now, I don't know if Piper was the one who hit the guy in the ass and put the honey there, or it was done to Piper. I can't remember off the top of my head. But when he went in the ring, the rest of the bear, not knowing he had honey on him, the bear just attacked him and just started trying to lick. And he didn't know what to do. So it was, everyone in the boys in the back were laughing. But there's my 2 cents about bear wrestling.
That is a bad rib. Tracy Smothers told me he had to wrestle one a couple times, and it was
it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's actually on YouTube. It's not even it's like a child bear, and it's huge. And you had to wrestle it.
As a, just to, I want to put some reference into this. The bear I wrestled was 6'2" or 6'3". I was taller than the bear. So I'm like, this will be fun. That thing beat the shit out of me. I couldn't, I've never been so wrong in my life.
I mean, they're just built to be a power predator, man, and you're just a sweetheart. So you're not.
Was it as stiff as Stevie in the ring or no?
Oh, no. The bear was trained. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So no concussions happen.
Bear
No,
World.
oddly enough, I didn't get a concussion. How is that?
Yeah, the good thing is I'm not going to remember any of this after the show, so it's fine.
Stevie had a tough weekend at the E Arena, everybody. If you didn't
Everything this week is going to be the Mandela effect for Stevie.
Yeah, it is.
He cut a killer promo after his match, though.
I didn't remember it though.
I didn't. I remember all the bad ones, but I didn't remember
Yeah,
the
don't
one
watch
good
the
one.
video.
It's me. Didn't know what was on. So just to take it back here, so when we're all children of the 80s, and another big thing, that was the Patterson Gimlin film. Am I correct?
Yep.
Right? So we all know that one. He's kind of walking through a riverbed and looks over his shoulder, does like a little peace out wave. It's like, yeah, I'm Bigfoot. But the thing that sticks out again is the Conspiracy Horsemen. We wouldn't be riding if we didn't point it out. Is that guy was out to look for Bigfoot, and he just happens to catch the perfect shot, perfect time to be like, hey, look what the fuck I got here, right? And to me, that sticks out. Now, compared to the footage that we see on YouTube, where I do believe people are catching them out there, it's pretty damn close realistically wise, and he may have caught it. I gotta give.
You know what the thing is? 70%. Everyone is using that as their reference, so everything will be marked to that. If they compare it, they say, well, look at the breast on it. Well, they made it that way because they're looking at that as their model.
Yeah.
And the biggest part about that whole film is the fact that for the time period, this was amazingly done if it was a hoax.
Right.
So.
Well, the dude's backstory, he was a carny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help his case.
Yeah. Not with 4 wrestlers that don't.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And just the fact that he was out there to catch it, needed the money on the budget, like everything was kind of slipping away from him, and then boom, the stars aligned and off we go. Now, I think they could have faked the suit, if we're talking about Star Wars production and shit at that time. Maybe he had somebody in. Movie production was tight. Oh, the goats are back.
Is that Bigfoot behind you?
Yeah, it is.
He's got his chains back. He's rattling.
Nah, no car this week, dude.
Gentlemen,
I'm in a
start your
bunker
engines.
somewhere, and I'm in a bunker somewhere underneath Denver Airport. I'm good.
All right, good. So that was the first one that we were kind of exposed to, and then the next benchmark is kind of the comedy version of that. Maybe 15 years later, which is Harry and the Hendersons movie, right? That's a part
Great
of
movie.
Yeah, great movie, but takes it from the spookiness of being in the woods when you're a little kid, out to piss your pants as a young teenager with your buddies, and you're trying to, what's that? Oh man, and you're feeding off each other. Harry and the Hendersons, a good family comedy where you get to connect with Bigfoot. And he's like, yeah, I'd like to let Bigfoot live at my house and take a dump in the corner and play with my dog or whatever, feed him cheeseburgers. So it took a lot of the sting out of it. But then again, you also see a lot of what we have going on now, which is the avid hunters. Like, I want to be the first one to take one down. And it was more of an animal rights story and putting a human face on Harry and the Hendersons. And if you're a millennial who's listening to this now and one of our new fans, check out Harry and the Hendersons. A great 80s movie. They don't make them like that anymore. There's a whole era of that. But I think that was the next way to kind of bring him into the conversation and make him more interesting to a wider audience.
Well, do you guys remember back in the 70s, Sasquatch, the movies, and Boggy Creek?
Yeah, The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Dude,
right?
man, those, for the people who, the VHS, trash watchers like I was, that's the shit where you're like, oh, this is terrible. But then you're like, it comes from somewhere, like that sort of thing. Sasquatch was the first, major motion picture made about it. And he was this violent, scary fucking thing. It was horrific. As a kid, saw that at the drive-thru with my parents. Good parenting, guys. Way to take a kid to that. So, like, seeing that, and then then you fast forward a couple years, then Harry and the Hendersons. So it's kind of like, all right, and he's cute and he emotes with his face and he purrs like a mogwai and it's adorable. He eats little things and cuddles with animals. Sure, and then it's the narrative they were trying to get over. They were trying to put through that, hey, we're scared of all this stuff, but we shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think it was definitely Disneyed out to the maximum. But when it comes to what you're talking about, Legend of Boggy Creek and Sasquatch, the movie there, I feel that the beast itself and even the way it is perceived to make sounds and screams and smash things, that in a lot of testimony of being called a madman, almost like they're in a frenetic state, even though they seem to have some primate caring for their youth and whatnot as far as that goes. But I do feel like they may be in an enraged state, just from how an alligator, medulla oblongata, right? And just how their brains might work.
No, Colonel Sanders, you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, I mean, you got to be crazy to be out there in the woods, smashing down trees all goddamn day. If that's your hobby, it seems like you'd be losing it a little bit. But and people say that, what do? They take down deer, and deer are pretty goddamn fast, man. You can catch a deer and snap its neck. It's impressive.
When I look at a gorilla, okay, yeah. A silverback gorilla. If you were to sit and set up a camera and watch a silverback gorilla all day, 22 hours out of that day, he is laying on his ass.
Yeah.
Doing shit. There's 2 hours when he's either losing his mind, breaking trees, slapping chests, throwing dirt in the air, humping another broad, or, getting something to eat. Otherwise, he's laying down. And if you want to equivocate that, put that in a Bigfoot term. Something that big doesn't want to be moving around all day. I am speaking from experience. You don't want to be running around in hot-ass woods with no air conditioning all day, running around smashing trees and shit. If you have to, you got to make some noise to keep people away, sure. But that is going to be for a limited time. Just because look at everything on this planet. Our gravity, all of it doesn't really help anything taller than 5 feet.
Yeah, and the way it's built with a massive upper torso and short legs, not a good cardio machine.
Exactly. So, like I said, people are like, "Oh, I saw it walking and running around and doing." I don't buy that. I don't believe it, because it would have to imagine the amount it would have to eat in order to keep it fueled. Like a lion. A lion can eat for once in a week or whatever it is, and then not hunt again for another week, because they don't do much. So compare that to a primate, a 7 to 8 foot tall primate that's 500 to 600 pounds. Imagine the berries and squirrels that shit's got to eat in order to run around and break trees and fucking cheerleader all day. Doesn't make sense.
No, I agree with that. Go ahead, Steve. You got anything on there?
No, I'm just looking through some of these things about the crazy conspiracy theories about Bigfoot. I think it stings our brains a little bit, not just the concussed part of my brain, but it stings my entire brain to watch a show continue to be produced, made, and take up TV time like Finding Bigfoot. I know we're going to segue into that, but I think that really does. Sal has a great point. All his points are great about the way this animal or being or whatever it is has to operate, if it's anything like the animals that we know of. But they never bring that up on Finding Bigfoot. It's always this paranormal kind of phenomenon type thing of how they approach it, almost like a ghost hunt. And they never. And then, Finding Bigfoot, after the first 2 seasons, you can't find a damn thing, then you just kind of canceled the show. Right? I mean,
well, the guy's name is Moneymaker, so that should tip you off.
Oh, yeah. That probably is a good thing.
Yeah, I think that it gets me hot, too, because sure, they had some good stuff out of the gate, but then it just becomes time for the family to gather around and, who's your favorite on the show? Oh, I like Bobo. I like the lesbian doctor that walks around. Like, everyone gets their own little everyone gets their own little Scooby-Doo kind of persona, right?
What the fuck is this going on? What are you doing?
He's pissing on his webcam. Oh, it's tremendous.
I was searching for something. I look up and I said it looked like the flushing thing on a urinal or something.
Greeks invented urinals. So.
Hey man, you said it yourself. 2 hours of the day, you gotta get done. You gotta get done.
Great.
Right?
So yeah, a new low for the conspiracy horse.
No, he's not even one of the boys. It's not even like he used a Gatorade bottle or anything.
Yeah, in the middle of my office, I'm gonna use a Gatorade bottle. Come on, boy. Be serious now.
That would have been even more.
At least get rid of the Dutch tilt for a few minutes. No, you don't even know what a Dutch tilt is. What do you got?
We're on the set of Adam West.
What is it? Fucking House Hunters now? HDTV.
But when it comes to that show, finding Sasquatch, it just becomes so repetitive. Of here's our style. How many can we crank out? But I get sick of the personalities and having to believe it. And here's a couple of things that piss me off. Almost every piece that you see, whether it's on BFRO.net or what have you, occurs in the daytime or any piece of footage that's found. These assholes don't do anything during the day. They go out at night when they can't see anything with some secondary equipment, like they're going to catch a heat signal with a flare. And it's just like, why are you doing this so you can go out and scream and wood knock and just make yourself look stupid? You know you're not going to get any good footage. So I just fell off quick on that show after that.
Well, just like, you get Josh Gates. That guy, he's very charismatic. He's a goofball. He's fun. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
But he's never going to find anything. When he looks for the Yeti, they brought that was just on recently, and I watched it. They had the Yeti skull. They brought it in. They did the test on it, and they said, well, it was stitched on. And they said, yeah, the Himalayan monks who kept this, they stitched it on to hold it and keep it in place and all this other stuff. It wasn't a primate, but it wasn't human. So they don't know the hair, what kind of hair it was. They're assuming it might be some sort of orangutan, maybe. But, everything was inconclusive. So we just spent 2 hours building up all of this research and scary, tense night vision. Oh, my God. Oh, what was that? What was that? We watched that because, this guy's in Nepal and he's on a mountain and somebody paid a ridiculous sum of money to put him in a campsite on a mountain. And everything is inconclusive. The hair you found, they found the one hair was like a cat's hair. It's just
now that's a discovery,
right?
I'm excited about that. Tell me more.
Well, there was a cat hair, so
my God, this is incredible.
And but the one thing they did come across, and the big positive spin on it, they found what they thought was a bear's hair or a bear's shit or something, and they said, well, here's the thing, bears have been extinct over in Nepal for however long. So you found fresh bear shit. That means it's a good sign. Okay. Sure. But again, you're left, all these shows have to leave you on the hanger because the minute they say yes or no, you're done watching. Or they think everybody's going to be done watching. I don't know. Personally, if I saw a show that was like, no, this is bullshit, I would keep watching that show because I know they're going to be honest or, remotely honest with me. They're afraid people are just going to tune out. Mountain Monsters. I was telling Ben before the show, I used to love that show just because it was just a bunch of dopey rednecks or guys who probably faking being rednecks, hillbillies running around and looking for the grass man in Ohio and, the skunk ape and this and that and all different types of the same Bigfoot. And they just keep renaming it, and the hellhound and the giant cat and all the other shit that goes on in this tri-county of West Virginia. It's like this one area is like, it's like a Sci-Fi Channel show itself. And now it's become like a Blair Witch. They're being hunted by another dark group, like some evil group. And it's become it's beyond ridiculous. So now you can't even have that. Well, I'm going to watch it to see what kind of trap they make or some kind of shit. Now it's just awful. It's just an awful show because they've dumbed it down even more so. And I think everybody's following that suit on all these shows.
They need to watch True Legends. They'll get it. I mean, it's head and shoulders above anything else.
Right.
All these shows on TV that are hunting Sasquatch or whatever the case may be, it's all bullshit. It's all work. I agree with you, Sal. I mean,
well, let me jump on. Let me cut you off here, man, because here's the one thing I do like about finding Sasquatch. And some people are going to be bullshit artists, but when they do, they get a call and they find an area that's hot. You know, I believe that because people are going to want to participate. When they do the town hall bit, and they ask, there's too many people. Sure, they want to be on TV, but there's too many Gomers in a lot of them that are up early farm boys that actually do see something. And as workers, that's where I look. Are they kayfabing, or are they some housewife who just wants her 5 minutes of fame? And there's a couple of them on there, but there's some people you can tell their story is as shoot as can be, and then they go to where they live, and you're like, yeah, I believe a Sasquatch might roll out in your backyard right out of the woods on the fence line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if there's one thing on the show, it's the testimony from people in backwoods, wherever they are in Squatch country, that makes me believe, especially if they're starting to line up, okay, patterns. You know, as a hunter, you know, I trace patterns plenty of times and look for whatever trail. An animal's going to take its least path of resistance unless it's scared and it wants to get away and go down. So if there's known trails and known places where hunters are going, to me, that's absolutely, especially if they're coming out at a certain time, like Sal said, if they're docile 22 hours of the day, you catch them on a feed time, you catch them on a travel time, that's all animal nature to me. So when there's avid hunters or farmers or somebody in between those two areas where they catch them moving, or there's you can pinpoint a certain area, that's the one part of the show that I actually do believe in. But aside from that, bullshit on most of it.
Well, so we're all in agreement here that these shows are just basically a waste of time and bullshit.
Well, they're fantasy.
Yeah, they're popcorn.
So is the UFC.
They're they're popcorn for you to watch. You know, that's this. Like, put it this way, Steve. Stevie says, they should be like true legends. Do you realize the true legends, how much time went into the 2-hour movie?
Yeah.
Now imagine them trying to do that every episode, sending these fuckheads out to, bumfuck Ohio and West Virginia. And, they need something that they can get a huge return on immediately. Yeah. And that's what these shows are. Okay, we have these 3 idiots who we're going to pay. We're not going to give them superstar wages because they're nobody. We'll give them a little bit and a little bit of something, and then they can crank out a show. Yeah, they can crank out a show that gives you content and the research minimum. And I know research is a big deal to the people who listen to the show, and I guess since none of us have our doctorates in Bigfootology and the other stuff, and doing the research, they have a staff of free interns who go and they'll look stuff up and say, well, this happened, because you know what? Matt Moneymaker and Bobo and Lesbian Phyllis don't have time to go out there and do this. They don't have time to go research. They're out in the woods all weekend.
The whole thing is for them to get their state fair payday after they've been established. You know what I mean? They're out there counting cars and all that other bullshit.
Well, they're doing better than that. I mean, you're talking about these people like them and Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures. They're working the Comic-Con circuit, making
well. That's the thing. They've reached this new level because of these shows. These shows legitimized them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. We can do too. We can do it too. I'm just saying. We can do all we got to do is it's like basically they're like backyard, and we can do, if we're just indie level, we'll do really well. That's my opinion.
You could be the first guy to get a concussion at a Comic-Con.
I was going to say,
there we go.
I'm afraid to get shot sitting next to Hamin or get a concussion sitting next to you.
Wow, this is.
It's all right. I'll bring my chains. I'll protect you.
Look at him.
I got a fucking email from Chris Nowinski. Probably he's waiting in the wings. I'm not dead yet, Chris. Don't worry. Yeah.
No, the best that I like about these shows is when you see them hunting Bigfoot, and they're like, "Oh, you see this Squatch like this, or Squatch? This is a Squatch area because look at the patterns in the grass field or whatever, or it smells." They've never seen a goddamn Sasquatch. How the hell do they know? Come on, man. They're calling us spots that are just ridiculous. It's like Vince Russo booking. It makes no sense whatsoever.
But ratings are high under Russo.
I wonder why. That's what he says.
Right, that's what he says.
I was going to say really quick that their production and the ghost shows and all that stuff use. You probably know Ben and Sal, maybe even Papadon. this camera swing that's really quick. Like you said, what was that? And boom.
Yeah.
And if they just happen to catch something that looks a little odd, they just happen to catch it. But I don't know if there's a production or a filming term for it's like Blair Witch. That's what they, you know,
it's first point of view shot for sure.
Right.
Just something quick that way to make you feel like it's through your eyes, right? It's through, so you get that scared feeling of, oh shit, what was out there. So when you are in the woods, or like the worst thing you could do is if you're going to the Caribbean on a vacation is watch Jaws before you go snorkeling and shit. Like all you hear is that music when you go on in the water. You're like, oh god damn. And that's what they want to mess with you with.
Does anybody remember that show on MTV called Fear?
Yes.
It was on for like a week. I don't know. I'm not even sure how long it was, but you know, they did literally, they had nothing. They told them a story before they went out. They put an awkward camera rig on them, and then they sent them out into the woods or the hotel or the jail or wherever they were going to go.
Yeah.
Right. So now when if you watch every Bigfoot monster show, cryptid show, they all tell you the story first. So now that story is laid out in your head. You want to see the giant werewolf chicken. You want to see the Bigfoot. You want to see, you know, the shaven Greek. You have these things in your head that you want to see. And now whatever they're going to do.
No, that's a myth, shaven Greek.
Well, I was werewolf chicken. I was just pulling out ridiculous shit out of my ass. So that is the formula for every one of the shows. We tell you the story. Now you know what you want to see. Then we'll tease you with, oh, what was that? Oh my God, look, I found shit. And, you know, I found a pile of hair. And you go, oh God, it's from a Greek. So now you're waiting to see it. And then at the end of the show, we don't have it. Oh, it must have just got away. Or, you know what? We didn't see it, but we feel it's pretty Greeky around here. And that's how they leave it. And now it's left up to your opinion.
Just like the astronaut footage, right? From the moon landing, they lost all the footage from the Apollo missions. They can't find it.
But they'll let you make up your own mind. That's my.
Yeah, absolutely. Your own mind's going to be that much more powerful, and then it gives the viewer at home a sense of power. Like, look at those idiots. I'm smarter, and I would never fall for it.
Right.
When chemicals are emotions, or emotions are chemicals, excuse me, and it's just going to rip through your body, dopamine wise. So let me take it out of the bullshit side. And
can I give you a quick bullshit list? What it could be? I will read off the 11 crazy Bigfoot conspiracy theories from Mental Floss. Number one, a DNA test. I'm not concussed that bad. I can read. A DNA test.
He's from Philly. He can't read.
He's joking out.
This is the American school system. Has nothing to do with my concussion. A DNA test proved that Bigfoot is part human hybrid and deserves U.S. citizenship. Number two, the government secretly removed burnt Sasquatch corpses from Mount St. Helens after the 1980 eruption. That makes a little bit of sense for the area, I would say. Yeah. Bigfoot is really a caveman. Moving on, Bigfoot is really an alien. I've heard that one before. That is a little out there. Bigfoot is really a giant ground sloth. Okay. Not to be confused with certain lazy wrestlers that I know. All right. Sasquatches occasionally sodomize domestic cows. Not the imported ones, but the domestic ones. This goes right along with Tim Alberino. Sasquatches appear in the Bible. Once again, that link to the giants. That's not actually crazy compared to what Tim had told us. 10% of Sasquatches, this is for you, Papadon, 10% of Sasquatches might be gay. So...
I thought you were going to say they work in diners.
Yeah. How do they get that stat?
Sasquatches. Where's
that control group?
Here's a click.
Listen, out of the four of us here right now, I'm not the one who was talking about pulling shit out of my ass. That was Big Sal. You know, I felt bad for the gerbils, but now y'all can go screw yourselves. So go ahead, continue.
You picked a fight with the wrong guy out of the group. What is wrong with you? You have a concussion. You should be directing that to me. I can't beat anybody up.
Well, I don't fight women, so you're on the safe side, Steve. Don't worry about
it. I'll slap a woman across the face for $5 at the merch table. Bring your money.
You'll be wearing your Stevie Richards T-shirt too as you do it, right, Ben?
Well, you can catch it. $5 face slaps on YouTube. I slapped it right across her mouth.
Just like I'm being buried during this episode. Sasquatches bury their dead. 10. The government captured a live Sasquatch in 1999. I'm going to read this one. In 1999,
That sounds interesting.
A number of simultaneous fires ravaged Battle Mountain, Nevada. An injured Bigfoot was supposedly, this is right near Area 51, by the way, an injured Bigfoot was supposedly spotted in the carnage before being whisked away by government officials for treatment, because they're known to take care of things they don't understand. A brief summary of the alleged event is available, and there's a story there. Number 11, big last one here, hopefully I can get through it. Bigfoot calls have been documented and can be easily mimicked. I don't know why that's a crazy theory.
Because they're terrible on cell phones.
Oh. Someone's using like something to disguise their voice to sound like a Bigfoot?
Yeah, they're just
when they steal his cell phone. Okay, so that was that.
He loves doing those Squatch calls on that bullshit show. I got to go back to number 10 though, because before I move on to this next bit, because I almost do believe that, because I've seen a couple different stories of wildfires out west, and that were, multiple stooge reports from, I wouldn't say any credible sources, but when they moved in National Guard to help with those firefighters, that it did leak out that supposedly they had one in a Jeep and they were taking him around, and he would get out, do calls, and they found one or two burned ones that were kind of beyond, and hellied them out. So
wait a minute. You're saying the Sasquatch was in the
Bigfoot
Jeep?
was the stooge. He was
the
stooge.
Was the stooge. Well, they had.
Was he riding shotgun?
Wildfires.
No, he was driving
and whatnot. Came out, and you're not going to get the other ones to come out unless you got one calling that way.
I got the stooge calling them out.
Possibility.
The Bigfoot narc.
Bigfoot joined like The Office and was stooging the voice off.
The Office Bigfoot.
He had a tie on.
Yeah. Johnny Ace.
Now you go up and you be the brawler and go up and say, I can't believe that guy's a real asshole, isn't he? And then when you agree, we're going to come out and...
But if they do have an advanced language of, more than just the big groans or wood knocks that we have with the grunts and whatnot, supposedly I've seen that broken down on In Search of Sasquatch too, where they had that, and it seemed like a language where they gave it to a language expert, and it was broken down more into like, okay, maybe they are talking to each other, and like how dolphins communicate as well. And I would believe that.
But then you got the other side. If they have this super, complex language, what about the part of your brain that's like, get the fuck out of the fire? There's a fire.
Well, where are you going to go?
Run for help.
Fire bad.
Yeah. If you're surrounded on all sides, right? You got no escape as far as that goes. So I think it was more of like, oh, let's call and come this way because there is help here. If you need to get out, here's where it is.
Well, let me ask you this. Remember the one of the points that Stevie just said about the
first of all, Stevie doesn't remember the points he just said.
I actually really don't. What did I say?
We doing a show?
Oh, I thought we were still talking about the moon landing.
They're recording. There's cats in the Himalayas now.
Oh, I heard that.
No, the one in Nevada. What was it called? The mountain.
Battle Mountain, Nevada.
Battle Mountain, right? The reason why I asked in the group discussion if it was by Area 51 is because what if Bigfoot? And here's a theory that I've heard too. What if Bigfoot is actually a human hybrid specimen that escaped from Area 51? That's why I asked how close was it to Area 51.
Well, you got stories of lineage and lore going back 1800 in the Americas where this has been documented. And if we're talking about Native Americans going back, how long, right? I would like to put everything on Area 51 and them making some crazy hybrids, which I'm sure they might have grabbed those Sasquatches, taken them to Area 51, and now are trying to make super Sasquatch soldiers. That's something I might believe. But I think the legend of the American Sasquatch and the American Giant, thanks to Tim Alberino with us, has been around for how many hundreds of years?
No, of course. I'm not saying that's the theory. I'm just saying it's a theory that I heard about. I mean, because look, we had the Jersey Devil, right? That's one animal or creature that we hear about. We hear about Bigfoot over there in the Pacific area. Then there's a Mothman somewhere in North Carolina.
They just saw Mothman 3 times in Chicago this year.
Really?
Mothman is 3.
Mothman is in Chicago.
He was in West Virginia, I believe, before.
Yeah, he used to be in Point Pleasant.
And then there was the dude, the ape man or whatever,
Skunk ape
out in Florida. in
And
Louisiana
he's
area.
thinner with longer arms, kind of more hunched over than an upright Sasquatch is.
Well, I understand that, but what
He's
I'm saying
205
is,
live of.
I'm just saying it's very regional, like the territories, and every territory has their monster. Okay.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, that's just a theory as far as what I'm saying with the Battle Mountain. But there's many theories. There's like the alien theory that Bigfoot could be an alien. Who knows? There's also a theory that I've heard with same thing with Loch Ness, that they're interdimensional beings, and sometimes they're in our dimension and sometimes they're not. That's why some people can find them and sometimes you can't see them. You know, so there's a lot of theories. I'm just throwing everything up against the wall and see what sticks.
Sure.
There used to be an American Indian lore about a Bigfoot who you couldn't see until he was up on you. You could smell him beforehand. He had like an invisibility thing. And as this went on, it got, the more we've gotten educated is the more that got kind of put away, because all these Indian guys, like these hunters who were out there in the woods, all of a sudden they smell it and they would all take off because they knew it was somewhere around and they couldn't see it.
That's
so the
kind
lore
of crazy.
was
That's like Predator.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah.
Well, you're dealing with a super predator, man. Here's where I got to flex my hunting muscle, man. You can be right up on deer and they'll jump up and scare the shit out of you in the middle of the woods. Not just how stupid they look on the side of the road, dead and laid out, right? Like, so if you've got something that's even more advanced, absolutely, I believe that they can stay small in the locker room, and when it's time to get their heat, they're right there to do it. So, whether it seems to a Native American at the time that's an advanced hunter itself that's getting outfoxed, of course they're going to be like, oh shit, he got me. Like, oh, why? Because he's invisible. That's why. It's not because I suck at hunting. It's because
right.
It's that reason alone. So when it comes to, and I appreciate it, Pop, throwing up everything against the wall of UFOs and some hybrid made that way. But to me, whether it's Loch Ness, and I don't know about Mothman because I haven't really studied up on them that much, skunk ape, Yeti, I think it is regional, and that all these things are possibly to be there, just as a primate would live. And I believe, that dinosaurs are probably, there's got to be dinosaurs deep in the Amazon someplace, right? Along those ways. And same with Loch Ness. It's some type of dinosaur holdover that, sure, there's a small amount of them, but we always think that something's extinct. And then lo and behold, 40 years later, after we were told it's extinct, we find another one as far as that goes. And people aren't really into the deep, deep woods where these things could survive. It's tough to get there. And if they can stay small in small numbers, I totally believe that it's highly possible that they can survive for X amount of centuries.
Well, I know now.
Two things.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Big Sal. Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, now states, I know a lot of states are doing they're actually passing laws about hunting them.
Yeah.
So like,
Sasquatch?
They're putting legitimacy into it. And I don't know whether it's a point of, like what the CDC did. The CDC got their information out by equivocating it to a zombie plague so people would pay attention. So I don't know if they're doing this for nature conservation, just saying, hey, Bigfoot's out there, so you can't kill him. But now it's brought attention to people, and they'll pay attention. They'll perk their ear up a little more and listen instead of just tuning out. So you don't know if they did it for legit reasons or if they're doing it because they actually believe in it. So
I have just a side note, because the Mothman has always, and that's all a little off topic, you mentioned it, Ben, because I'm interested to see about the sightings in Chicago. But for people who don't know what the Mothman prophecies or the Mothman, type of phenomenon or paranormal events or whatever, it's pretty weird, because in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, by the way, there's a statue of the Mothman, so the people in that town are, I think, true believers. And the reason why is because there's a picture on the internet I'm looking right now where it looks like there's a creature on the bridge. And then right after that, the bridge collapses. So the Mothman prophecy is kind of like the sign of impending doom. And this picture is really weird. They even said, I don't know about this picture, but there's a blown up picture of the Mothman leaving the Twin Towers as well in New York City. It's the first time I'm just saying it's here. But the picture on the bridge, which was in December 15th, 1967. A little harder to doctor up than the Twin Tower one. But what are they saying about the sightings in Chicago? Do you have anything on that, Ben?
Just that in a short amount of time, it was 3 different sources who claimed to have seen it, and not in the timeline it was there. It wasn't like they were all 3 at the same spot. So he appeared at 3 different places in, I think, a 48-hour time span. So and 2 of on rooftops as far as that goes. So
he was catching a Cubs game and grabbing some stuff.
I was gonna say Cubs won because Mothman was there.
There you go.
He's supposed to be the harbinger of bad events.
He killed Bartman. Then, as far as that goes. Let me switch back to, we talked about the bullshit side, but I'm sure you guys saw this a couple of years ago, where in Texas they had X amount of hair samples with legit DNA and zoologists and doctors. Dr. Melba Ketchum, and she issued a press releases November 24, 2013. Excuse me, I got a concussion. A team of scientists can verify the 5-year-long DNA study currently under peer review confirms that the existence of a novel hominin hybrid species, commonly called Bigfoot or Sasquatch, living in North America. Researchers' extensive DNA sequencing suggests that the legendary Sasquatch is a human relative that arose approximately 15,000 years ago as a hybrid cross of modern Homo sapiens with an unknown primate species. Kind of plays into Tim Alberino stuff a little bit, as far as I'm concerned.
Now that woman,
that woman
Ketchum.
God damn it.
Well, I remember I was at that point when she was coming out with that information.
Yeah.
There was a lot coming out about her that was kind of not painting her in the best light.
Sure, they're gonna cast shade. Though.
Oh yeah. But she seemed to be the one to do the level of research.
Yeah. Well, there was like 5 or 6 people on that board, I remember, that were, cryptozoologists who didn't seem to have like their, I want to get my own show on History Channel shit. They were with it, of the samples that they had.
And she was actually on one of the shows, and she came out to kind of, I think it was oh crap! It's a show it's not even a Monster Hunters. No, or something like that. But it was one of the more legit shows where they would do a lot of recreations, and they would always pose the what if sort of thing, and then they always had scientists go out into the woods, not just like these people. She was on one of the teams, and she came out after the show and was like, while they were very serious about what they were doing, they weren't doing serious scientific level work. So the show wanted it, and they had all the scientists there, but they weren't on the level of science that they're claiming to be.
Right.
So they were riding on the scientists' coattails, saying our show's legitimate because we have scientists.
Yeah.
But they weren't doing the level of work that scientists would do. And that's when she came out, and said, the show's okay, but I'm not a fan. And
it didn't have the scientific theory of, to run everything through. It still had to be some entertainment. And once you start doing it by scientific method, hypothesis, thesis, to inform all that, it just takes all the magic out of it, right?
And then they started to bury her. Like after that, like she started getting they just started burying her.
Well, I can understand that. So I don't know, that study to me, I remember seeing that. I was like, okay, these guys don't seem to have an agenda, and they've got a fair amount of samples, and they're just going to do their lab test, and they're going to come back with, what they find. And their findings were there was some type of crossbred hominid that way. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And a couple other things I like comedy wise to put in Sasquatch. Obviously, the Tenacious D episode, if you've ever seen that one, strong, and the song Sasquatch, which I'll probably close with. And then Trailer Park Boys, which I think the lore of Sasquatch in Canada is stronger than it is here, even in America, as far as that goes. Like, just because maybe we don't have, well, I imagine we do probably have as much expansive forest to hide in, but it seems like more of a mascot for a lot of upper Canadians in that deep woods as well. So I think when it comes to being regional, whether it's in the player from the Himalayas or what have you. Everybody's got their own version of it. And again, this goes back to our Giants conversation. They were in Ohio and Michigan. They're in Sardinia. You know, they're all over. So even if there is a slight variation from 8 to 10 foot giants to what he was saying, 30, 40 foot giants, I couldn't imagine, you know, maybe it is regional in that respect. And after X amount of years of evolution, or evolution is a mystery, it's a change that nobody sees, as the theme song goes, you know, pretty much that could dictate why the skunk ape in the swamps is a certain way, because you probably wouldn't want to evolve to be an 800-pound massive individual if you got to be in hot ass Florida running around the swamp scaring people.
What about this? And this just popped into my head, and we can connect the dots and try to make some sense of all these conspiracy theories that we love, that entertains us. What if Tim Alberino's thing with the Giants, when they were saying, and Dan Quayle was saying that the U.S. government's trying to build super soldiers?
Dan Quayle?
Dave Quayle, whatever his name is.
Steve Quayle.
Steve Quayle.
You got a Stevie right here. I mean, all right.
Whatever the guy's name
That's
is.
my name. I think my name's Dan Richards now.
When you were saying connect the dots, you didn't mean the dots you were looking at in your eyes there, Stevie.
You remember that one? I know my name's Steven. You guys know it from the
Oh,
80s.
dude, that TV movie scared the hell out of me. That and it. Holy shit. But anyway, point I'm trying to make before I forget is when Quayle and Alberino were saying that the government's trying to use giant DNA to make super soldiers.
Yeah.
What if it is true? And what if the super soldiers, what if the reject, you know, the first attempt, second attempt, you know, like Sloth was being held in the chamber somewhere like in Goonies. What if a Bigfoot is the effect of putting giant DNA into, you know, into process with some humans and trying to make a super soldier?
Even if it was the Anunnaki or somebody back in the day trying to mess with it.
Yeah.
What about Stalin? Stalin making the gorilla soldiers. He wanted gorillas.
Really, at this I don't know. I don't know this one, Sal.
Oh yeah, dude.
I didn't know this either, but
Yeah,
hey, fuck it.
basically they wanted to make guerrilla warriors, man, and they wanted to make intelligent gorillas to fight in World War One or two. Yeah.
Could you imagine that being on the front line, coming through the trenches, just wailing on people?
Exactly. Now imagine being the scientist to be like, hey, we want you to work on this,
Yeah.
but you got to keep it quiet.
Jesus.
So it's funny because Ben always likes to put the predictive programming spin on it, but Gorilla Grodd from the Flash and from the comic books, a lot of this stuff, it's once again,
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes.
Or
You can
Marvel, Red Ape.
Yeah, I'm saying you can
That
put
was
all
so
these
good.
things and have a correlation to some kind of something in entertainment, TV, movies, comics, books. It's really fascinating. That's all. It seems to be grounded in not just someone's imagination, as I've said in the previous episode.
Or was it Dilatov Pass, where they said it was a Russian killer Sasquatch. Those hikers they were killed back in what 50s or 60s. Look up DYLTOV, Dilatov Pass, and these Russian hikers. They were all experienced. They all went out there, and they all disappeared. So they sent a party out after them, and they found them. Some of them were crushed by something. Some of them had their eyes and their anuses and their tongues removed.
I'm looking at it right now on Wikipedia.
Sure, it was a bunch of Greeks.
Soviet
They did invent it.
Oh my goodness.
Yalla.
Soviet investigators determined that 6 victims died from hypothermia, while others showed signs of physical trauma. One
Right.
victim had a fractured skull, while another had brain damage without any signs of distress to their skull. Additionally, a female team member had her tongue and eyes missing. The investigation concluded that an unknown compelling force had caused the deaths. Access to the region was ultimately.
Jesus Christ, Stevie. Reading is fundamental, my friend.
You son of a bitch.
Let's say the one that had its ass ripped out. Do you think that's the 10% gay?
Closed. No.
That was the gay Yeti. But now, one of the things the first thing they said was that it was a Russian Bigfoot. And then there are people in that mountain region. They're indigenous up there. You know, a bunch of shovel teeth Melungeons who just came down, and they think that they might have had heat with them. But they said still, the people showed no sign of trauma Some were running out of the tent, like they cut their way out of the tent for some reason. They weren't sure why. And there was a black blur on a camera that one of the guys had, so they're not sure what it is. So it's just one of those situations where, you know, of course, Russia, everything is just awful and terrible. They, you know, blamed the Bigfoot on it, and then they blamed UFO, then they blamed nuclear testing or, you know, shell testing. A dozen different ideas, and that has now become like this great unsolved mystery, and a lot of people making movies about it now and everything else. But
I think Russian Bigfoot hacked our election, to be honest with you.
There we go.
Well, I think Russian Bigfoot is Putin. It's just shaved. He's just shaved down.
So before we start to wrap this up, bring it home, we shared some videos with each other on our group chat, which you too can join for $100 a month. We'll be happy to put you in there. And
also, I want to pimp the GoFundMe for Stevie's concussion treatment.
You do realize is this going to be on WrestleZone now? Stevie Richards suffering from CTE.
Stevie Richards is suffering.
Shit, I cut
and
the
we are
million last night. I couldn't even get that on WrestleZone.
We are currently conducting.
No,
interviews.
we're not. Stop it.
No, we're trying to
stop.
We're trying to get talent for Stevie's memorial show.
You realize that blog posts do not carry giggles and LOLs or anything in the middle of it. So if they quote you, oh my goodness.
The God's honest truth is that we're trying to get people for Stevie's memorial show.
Yes, it is.
And
a lot of people would pay for that one.
Anything we could do to help him and his family in the time of need, because his brain is mush right now.
It is.
We want to do that. So please give generously.
Versus a bear in the main event. It's gonna be a great show.
You know, when you know, it becomes a rib after the first day or two when your wife starts repeatedly asking you what your name is, and then count for her and do all this stuff. So I just started fucking just doing everything wrong. Like, I'm Stevie Richards. That's my real name. You know?
You should walk out with your underwear
I was
over your
WWE World
pants.
Champion. They pushed me hard. I'm really, you know, like, I just started, you know, whatever.
Yeah, throw in some DDP yoga, get a set in real quick.
No, I don't forget that heat, brother. No way. See?
Even
that'll make
that
the wrestling website. Stevie Richards heat with DDP.
Yeah, man. But of these videos that we've been sharing, man, you can look it up. Top 5 best Sasquatch videos, top 7. There's a couple in there. And boy, I gotta tell you, out of the 5 or the 7 that I watched, it was tough to call bullshit on any of these clips based on reaction. And I know there's a lot of colors of different fur there, whether it's the reddish brown, kind of the silverback gray, the dark black, or you know, a light brown, almost similar to what bears are looking like, as far as many different colors of bears as there are as well. So the way they move. And the footage and the scenarios, the one with the church group, I don't know if you saw that one where they're up on there and they see, and that Sasquatch, maybe it's just because of the distance, but the body shape alone, so thin, so tall, and the way it was moving, and to be on the top of a mountain on another one where it's a very steep slope, rocky, and a lot of snow with no climbing gear as well, like no one, and to be by yourself just kind of wouldn't have been that way. And then some of these hunter ones, there's a boar hunter and he's out there and he zooms in on it sitting down and it stands up, and I'll be goddamn, that's going to be a tough one to fake in the way he does it and his reaction. Now, again, as a hunter, Sasquatch, if you're out there, you're not getting away with me on a goddamn cell phone. It's a 308 straight to the back of the head, moron, because I'm going to get rich off your ass. I'm getting my payday. So, you know, if you're a hunter out there, and there's a new show out there too that is rivaling or taking
Killing Bigfoot, isn't it?
Killing Bigfoot. Yeah. Right? And it's these hillbillies who are like, we got to do it to protect our women and our crops and our cows. They're killing
chupacabra
here. So, you know, they're out there, you know, just some rednecks to try and do that to get a reaction from animal lovers and PETA lovers to pass this legislation, which could all be a work in itself just to do that. But, you know, if it's me in the deep woods in New York, and there has been sightings in Lake George, you know, an hour.
Was it White Rock or Whitehall?
Whitehall, yeah, that's a little bit down south, but they're up here by the Adirondacks, man. It's completely believable that they could survive for X amount in the deep woods or whatever, come across them. There's
What about Yellowstone? How about those? You guys ever hear about those?
Yeah, by the
I got my hourly check, by the way, to make sure I haven't passed out and gone into a coma.
Actually, there is also another new show that came out starring Stevie Richards. It's Killing Brain Cells.
Wow. Jesus.
It's good.
Come on, Stevie, that was good. Don't cry.
I'm not gonna cry. Like I'm what do you think? I'm some Greek who's a mark for himself? I mean, I'm not gonna cry over shit like this.
We're all marks for ourselves, bud, or else we wouldn't be doing this.
That's right.
Anyway,
what do you guys think about those videos, man? That we were kicking back and forth.
I'll tell you, this was doing the research, and yes, we were doing research for this episode. So I want.
Well, three of us was. Stevie wasn't.
Well, okay. Well, Stevie,
because he was concussed.
His nurse was telling him about the research we were doing. During the sponge bath, she would say, "Guess what we got? We've received something from Mr. Hamin."
I want my cigarettes, and let's scratch it. My cigarettes.
And yeah, so doing the research and watching these videos, you know, I used to be a security guard, so I've seen a lot of these videos because that's what you do. You look for YouTube videos on Bigfoot, and some of them are great, some of them are awful.
Yeah.
Some of them are just, you know, you could tell why they were made and how they were made.
Yeah.
But yeah, but then also, and I know Papadon does it too, the rabbit hole that happens when you start with Bigfoot and then you jump to Chupacabra and then you go to aliens and then you go to like demons and then you go to, you know, the whole
fallen angels.
All the videos. Yeah, all the videos of all the things that they've caught on camera. So.
Yeah, well, the ones we watched, you feel that they're legit and they definitely back up the.
How about the one with the baby?
Yeah, there's the one with the mother. She's really a almost full black Sasquatch on there. I know Sal's gonna pop for that. And she goes behind the big rock and comes out carrying the baby. Now, if
that was just something that was shooting in Kentucky.
Yeah, I know. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I know it was like, here comes this fucking smile, and I'm gonna laugh. But you know, to fake, you know, one Sasquatch, but then to have the baby costume and have the baby reacting, which looks like a small chimpanzee, you know, in the way she's cradling it, that's pretty goddamn hard to do from a production standpoint, just for a quick viral video. And it's things like that, man, that really lend me, and I think the Yellowstone one too is super believable too, Pop.
Yeah, because how many people are missing then in Yellowstone National Park every year, and then they just try to sweep it underneath the rug. And I mean, it could be related to Bigfoot or Sasquatch or whoever or whatever is taking these people away and they're disappearing. I don't know. Just trying to connect dots here.
Especially if Bigfoot is driving around in a car, calling the other Sasquatches. He's probably got his posse together.
Yeah,
they could just. I
can see that, man. If you're gonna corral an animal like on a push though, and you got fire behind them, and you got a line set up, chances of you running into one. That's what we do when we go out in a big group hunt that way. We'll line up 200 yards apart from each other. It's called putting on a drive
in a big circle.
No, you do it. You cordon off an area, right? Like say you're looking for a little kid, like they would do the handhold things, right?
You guys hunt little kids?
If the season.
Is your last name Podesta?
But you have a couple of guys down on the far end, a mile and a half down, and then you take the 6 dudes and put on a straight drive to push all the deer that way, because otherwise they can, you know, subvert. So if you got, instead of drivers, you got a fire behind you and you got a wall of workers, chances of them coming out to you are pretty goddamn good if they don't want to get burned alive. That's why that story to me is like, okay, probability of them running into one is a lot higher, you know?
Yeah, but how they get them in the Jeep and how they get them to work?
That part could easily be fucked over, you know what I'm saying? But if you have multiple accounts from firemen, National Guard, and of being like, we saw something or they took something out of there, you know, the Jeep stuff is obviously for your mental play of like, oh, he went to help to go find the rest of them. That's what's in those stories. But I think that's probably, if you're going to look for a time when there's actual contact where they're looking for help or they're burned, or if they really are caring for their children in a way of a family structure, that might lend itself to that. Or it's all fucking bullshit.
Very well.
So again, so now we've just left you with the Josh Gates ending of the show.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff is actually 100% legitimate, or it's not.
Well, that one rib, I mean, of that story, because there's no footage of that, but of the videos we shared, I'm to be honest with you, a 5 out of 5 looked pretty goddamn credible to me. Maybe one of them didn't, but the rest of them were pretty damn good.
All right, so let's call a spade a spade. Now there's 4 of us here. We'll go around the table. Are you a believer or are you not? Sal, start off.
I'm waiting to be disproved.
So you believe?
I do.
Okay, Ben.
Yeah, based upon my experience of being a woodsman and my dad cutting down trees for 35 years and him knowing the rugged blue collar guys he knows that go way back in. I'm not talking about taking trees out of your backyard on a job that way. I'm talking about cutting roads, going deep in the woods, and their experiences of being watched and seeing tracks around their equipment after they've left, inspection, things like that. I'm definitely a believer, man. And I want to believe, and I think it's highly probable, not just in one area of the country. I think it's all over the world, and especially after the Tim Alberino shoot on us, for sure.
Stevie.
We still talking about the moon landing? I'm just kidding. I think even though it's not as vast as say our oceans or our waters, I still think there's a great deal of the forest, the jungle, whatever it might be, that haven't been even touched. And like Ben said, normal people haven't even been that deep. Even the people that cut out the roads probably haven't gone as deep as they could go. So yeah, I mean, this is probably, like I said earlier, maybe one of the things I can't believe. It's not even as exciting to me as some of the really out there conspiracies we're talking about. This is sort of like just more of an evolution thing, we just kind of haven't really discovered it, much like we haven't discovered, animals that are in the deep sea that sometimes get caught when they go miles down. This is just going miles deep into a forest. And sometimes you're right, Ben, like if certain natural disasters or something like that happen, they're pushed a little bit more towards the population, and we see it once in a while. So yeah, I'm a believer there's something, maybe not such a thing as a Sasquatch, but some kind of mammal out there or something in between, say, apes and humans.
How about you, Pop?
Stevie makes a valid point, surprisingly, in the condition that he's in.
You fucking piece of shit.
You killed it, Stevie, on that one. You held off for the high spot. You nailed it, brother. You nailed it.
That was good. Your timing was good. I personally feel that there could be something out there, like Stevie said, some kind of mammal that's undiscovered or some kind of creature that's undiscovered, whatever the case may be. I mean, just like these giant squids that they're finding now that 20, 30 years ago were just folklore.
What was that that washed up there recently, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as Sasquatch, I believe in the lore. I don't believe in an actual Sasquatch, only because all these sightings occurred and all this stuff happened. I think as a species, meaning us humans, I think that if we were able to see so many sightings, we'd be able to catch at least one and try to bring it into light. But that's just my take on it. I don't think there's a Bigfoot present. I just think there might be something out there that isn't man but isn't beast. Maybe there's a cross in between, or it's a species that we've never even discovered as of yet because we haven't ventured that deep into the rainforest or in the woods or whatever the case may be. Or who knows? They could be living in the Grand Canyon in cave somewhere. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. We never, there's so many different tunnels underneath the civilization right now, and caverns and things that we haven't really went in to explore. So, there could be something there, but I personally don't believe in Bigfoot. I do believe in the lore, though. It's entertaining. Not as entertaining as other stuff that we've talked about or we will talk about in the future. I think Tim Alberino and his giants and everything like that, I believe in that more than actual Bigfoot. So could it be one and the same? Could be, but I personally think, not today, Charlie.
That's just because it's Greek mythology with the giants. That's the only reason you believe that shit.
Listen, man, Greeks invented everything. You should be happy. If it wasn't for Greeks, there'd be no wrestling, there'd be no conspiracy horsemen.
Oh,
and Stevie wouldn't have a concussion. So this is all your fault.
Well, Stevie, it's my fault that Stevie got a concussion.
Yeah.
He's gonna tuck his chin when he takes a bump.
Wow.
Oh, got him. Y'all infidels, and we want to know what you believe out there. Let us know what you want to hear next. I'm leaning towards Antarctica and the underground military bases. I think there's a lot coming out on that as well, and plenty of history. But definitely hit us up at Greek God Papadon, at BWO Stevie, at bin_Hamin, and let us know. And if you find a Sasquatch, get us some pictures, and we'll send you a T-shirt from one of our ProWrestlingTees.com
5% off.
Enter code infidel to add 20% to checkout pricing, morons. So y'all signing off for the Conspiracy Horsemen, Big Sal, FBI, Greek God Papadon, and BWO Stevie. This is HackerHamin, the Bigfoot episode, infidels, and we're here to crush your minds. Oh!
So I'm ready to start recording the show.
I was going to say, I was waiting to go. Okay, we're
do we
recording
start
in 3,
yet?
2.
Oh, okay. Let's start. All right, go ahead, Ben. Do the opening.